Hey guys, it's Rich from Richmond Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastically well. And I wanted to put this video together as there was a comment on the Atomic Mass Games forum yesterday that M.O.D.O.K answered, and it changes the way that rerolls work for some characters in quite a big way. Now, before we jump into that, remember we have our competition running for the month of July, where if you are a subscriber to the channel and you leave a comment down on this or any other video for the month of July, you will be in with a chance to win a brand new character pack. So let's start by jumping over to the post, reading through that, and then I'll explain exactly what that means, which character is affected by it, how you can identify characters in the future that will be affected by it, and then we'll run through a couple of examples. We can see here that Thoras has asked the question, what timing step or steps is rolling attack or defense dice supposed to represent? Shuri, Black Panther, Beast, M.O.D.O.K, etc. are all placed as though the wording is triggered and resolved in step 9. I've had no luck digging up any official statements on those though. Step 9 is the modification stage that we would normally do in the rerolls, and I think how everybody has been playing it until now. Domino and Loki, however, appear to establish that either step 6 or 7, depending on whether it's attack or defense, is at least the first step that is triggered for that wording. There are official statements backing this up for Loki, and it's only the timing conclusion I believe you can draw for Domino. We know that the timing ability triggers and is paid for versus when it resolves can be different. So based on how we handle Loki and Domino, I would think that Shuri, etc. actually need to pay for their power in step 6 or 7 and then resolve the rerolls in step 9. Don't worry what those steps are at the moment, I'll run into them later on. The only way I can resolve things within the context of the overall system, other than we've all been playing Shuri, etc. wrong, is that the wording actually triggers multiple times in steps 6, 7, maybe 8 and step 9. So just looking to understand the differences here, thanks for your help. So what they're asking, or at least what I believe they're asking here, is we have some reroll abilities that have specific timings on them during the calculate success, during the modify die stage, etc, etc. But these more generic ones where you have to pay the power, but it says after dice are rolled, the vast majority of people, including myself up until now, have been paying that power during step 9, which is the modified dice stage, and then performing the rerolls. Let's have a look at what M.O.D.O.K's response is. Effects that trigger when rolling attack or defense dice will trigger and be paid for after that step occurs. This will be at the end of step 6 for special rules that trigger when rolling attack dice, and at the end of step 7 for special rules that trigger when re-rolling defense dice. That may not seem like a big thing, but what we're going to do is just pull up that timing chart and just look where those two sit. First of all, guys, the one thing I want to mention is whenever I'm talking about, and I believe whenever M.O.D.O.K or any of the guys on the forum are talking about timings, we're always referring to the Appendix A timing document. Now, what happened in the past? So in the past, let's say you've got a M.O.D.O.K and he is making an attack against any other character, it doesn't matter who it is. What would normally happen, M.O.D.O.K would roll his dice, the defending character would roll their dice. M.O.D.O.K would then explode any crits. The defending character would explode any crits. Then we would get to the modified dice stage, and this is where M.O.D.O.K would pay X amount of power to re-roll any of his dice. And then if the defending character wanted to re-roll any of their dice, they would, and then also modifying their opponent's dice as well. And that you can clearly see happens here in number 9, because that's where the modified dice happens. Now what has been said is very, very different. So step 6 is here. Roll the attacker's dice pool. Step 7 is here. Roll the defender's dice pool. If we look at the wording then on, and let's take M.O.D.O.K as the example, I'm holding the card here, I'll put it up on the screen. After this character rolls attack or defense dice, it may spend any amount of power to use this superpower. For each 1 power spent, this character may re-roll one of its own attack or defense dice. So back to what M.O.D.O.K has said and what has now been clarified and is now the rules. M.O.D.O.K rolls his dice, step 6. He then chooses how much power he wants to pay for how many dice he wants to roll. And he has to do that before two things happen. Before he's exploded his own crits, and even before the defender has rolled their dice as well. Now this means that you're now taking a real gamble with players like M.O.D.O.K, Beast, Shuri and the Wakanda affiliation in general, spending that power when you may not need it, or indeed it may not have any impact whatsoever. So right now I can see that there are 5 abilities in the game that are going to be affected by this. 4 that are affected by the power side, and then 1 that's affected by something slightly different. So first of all is M.O.D.O.K with his P-Brain. We've already covered that off. The second effect is Beasts, Stars and Garters. The Upgrades ability from Shuri, and Black Panther's affiliation ability, King of Wakanda. Now, as you can see there, the affiliation to be hit the hardest by this is most definitely the Wakandans. Now, some people may say it's the nerf that they needed so that they fall in line with everybody else. I'm sure there are plenty of players out there who are not going to be too happy about it. The last one then that falls into this same category is the Guardians of the Galaxy affiliation ability, and they are most definitely an affiliation that did not need any sort of nerf, and it's the winging it capability. Now, whilst you don't pay any power for this, you are going to be spending those winging it tokens at that exact same time as you would spend the power. So either in step 6 or indeed step 7. So let's look at a quick example on how this works. So we can see in this example, we've got M.O.D.O.K coming up against Black Panther, who has Shuri close by for her upgrades. M.O.D.O.K starts by targeting Black Panther with a psionic blast and jumping straight over to step 6, rolls his 6 attack dice and, as M.O.D.O.K often does, makes a monstrous roll of 3 crits, 2 wilds and 1 success. Now this is the moment in the timings where M.O.D.O.K needs to decide whether or not he will spend any power on P-Brain. M.O.D.O.K with the 3 crits decides that he's actually going to spend 2 power, allowing him to re-roll up to 2 of his dice. Black Panther now rolls his 3 Mystic Defense dice, gaining a hit, a blank and a blank, so absolutely no successes there. And again decides that he will spend the 1 power for King of Wakanda. As Shuri is within range 4, however, she also decides that she will spend 3 power, allowing Black Panther to re-roll up to 3 defense dice. M.O.D.O.K explodes his 3 crits, gaining 2 more successes and 1 blank. And with Black Panther having no crits to explode, we move on to the dice modification step. Starting with M.O.D.O.K, who, if we remember, has spent 2 power for P-Brain, re-rolls his 1 blank and rolls a block. However, as M.O.D.O.K has already re-rolled the 1 dice, he cannot re-roll that same dice again, as any dice can only be re-rolled once using the same ability. Black Panther, choosing to use Shuri's upgrades re-rolls first, re-rolls all 3 of his dice, gaining 1 block, 1 crit and 1 blank. Now, as we know, crits that have been re-rolled do not add additional dice into the dice pool, but as he is still left with 1 blank, he then uses his re-roll from King of Wakanda to re-roll the same dice again, gaining 1 more block. As neither player has any more modifications to perform, we then move to step 10, calculating success or failure. So the key thing here, guys, is we're looking at characters who have abilities, superpowers, attacks, where it states they can re-roll their dice after the dice have been rolled and then doesn't have anything else clarifying it afterwards. An example of an effect that hasn't been affected at all by this change is Oscorp weaponry from Green Goblin, which if we take a quick look at his card, once per turn, while an allied character is attacking, it can spend 1 power when modifying opposing defense dice. So what that clearly does there is it says that during that modify stage, it can spend 1 power. So that's the timing where that comes in. So hopefully that was useful, guys. Hopefully that explains what is quite a complex rule. Let me know down in the comment section what you think. I think this is going to be a fairly big nerf to the Wakandans, and it's definitely a nerf to M.O.D.O.K as well. Less so for him, I think, than the Wakandans, because it's two affiliated characters that are affected by this. But to be perfectly honest, I do feel like the Wakandans needed something to bring them down a peg or two so that they came in line with every other affiliation that was there. What's really sad is that the affiliation, which for me is the most lacklustre in the entire game at the moment, the Guardians of the Galaxy, has also had a nerf as well. Not that anyone's really using those winging it tokens in the game at the moment. But as always, guys, remember to hit that subscribe button. Remember to leave a comment in this or any other video for the month of July. You'll be in with a chance to win a brand new character pack. There's some really exciting characters being released this month. And as always, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.